The late afternoon sun beat down on Ethan O'Connor's weathered hands as he scrubbed at a particularly stubborn spot on his truck's passenger door, not realizing that his entire life was about to change because of a woman watching him from across the parking lot. "Daddy, you missed a spot." 6-year-old Lily pointed at a mud splatter near the wheel well, her pigtails bouncing as she hopped from one foot to the other in the empty grocery store parking lot. "Thanks, Eagle Eyes." Ethan smiled, despite his exhaustion. The ancient Ford pickup had seen better days much like its owner, but he was determined to keep it running. It was all he had left after the divorce, layoffs, and medical bills had drained what little savings he'd managed to build. "Can I help?" Lily asked, already reaching for the sponge. "Sure thing, Butterfly." He handed her the soapy sponge while he tackled the wheels. "Just the lower parts, okay? Don't stretch." Grace Vargas watched the scene from beside her Tesla, momentarily forgetting the urgent conference call she was supposed to be on. Something about the man and his daughter touched her in a way she couldn't explain. Perhaps it was the genuine care he took with both the truck and the little girl, or maybe it was simply seeing someone who clearly took pride in what little they had. She'd pulled into this small-town grocery store lot on her way back to the city after a failed acquisition meeting. Her driver was inside grabbing her a coffee, and she'd stepped out to stretch her legs when she noticed them. The man's careful, methodical cleaning of what was clearly a struggling vehicle struck her as both heartbreaking and beautiful. In her world of corporate takeovers and billion-dollar decisions, genuine moments like this had become rare. As Grace continued watching, the little girl accidentally dropped the sponge, splashing soapy water all over her shoes and her father's jeans. "I'm sorry, Daddy." The child's face crumpled. "Hey, it's just water." The man knelt down, completely unconcerned about his now soaked pants. "Look, you helped me cool off. It's like having a tiny car wash helper." The girl's laughter rang out across the parking lot, and Grace found herself smiling too. She hadn't realized she'd been staring until the man glanced up and their eyes met. Grace felt an unexpected jolt. He had kind eyes, tired but kind. She quickly looked away, embarrassed to be caught watching. Her phone buzzed insistently. 4 missed calls from her executive team. The reality of her world came rushing back. Yet, as her driver returned with her coffee, Grace made a split-second decision. "Wait here," she told her driver. She walked toward the father and daughter. Ethan noticed the woman approaching and straightened up. She was clearly out of place in this rundown part of town, dressed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent. "Excuse me," she said, her voice surprisingly soft. "I couldn't help but notice how clean you're getting your truck. My car could use that kind of attention." Ethan wiped his hands on his jeans, suddenly conscious of his appearance. "Thanks, but I doubt a professional car service would have anything to worry about from my methods." "Actually," she continued, "I was wondering if you do this professionally, clean vehicles, I mean." Ethan almost laughed. "No, madam, just trying to keep this old girl running as long as possible." He patted the truck's hood affectionately. "Can't afford a new one, so gotta take care of what I have." "I'm Grace," she said, extending her hand. "Grace Vargas, Ethan O'Connor." His calloused hand engulfed her smooth one. "And this is my daughter, Lily." "I'm 6 3/4, Lily announced proudly. Grace smiled genuinely. "That's quite precise. I appreciate accuracy." "My daddy says details matter," Lily informed her seriously. "Your daddy's right," Grace replied, studying Ethan with new interest. "Details absolutely matter." Ethan shifted uncomfortably under her gaze. "We should probably finish up here and get going. Lily has homework, and I've got the evening shift starting soon." "Where do you work?" Grace asked. "The hardware store during the day, and I bartend at night," Ethan replied without a hint of self-pity. "Single dad life isn't cheap," Grace nodded, making a quick decision. "I run a company that recently relocated to this area. We're still setting up our facilities and services. Would you be interested in some contract work, maintaining our company vehicles?" Ethan narrowed his eyes. "What kind of company?" "Vargas Innovations. We develop sustainable technology solutions." Ethan's eyes widened slightly. Even in this small town, everyone had heard of Vargas Innovations. It was a Fortune 500 company, and you're offering me a job just like that. Grace handed him a business card. "I trust my instincts, Mr. O'Connor. Call that number tomorrow if you're interested. We can discuss details." Before Ethan could respond, Grace's driver called out to her. She gave a small wave and walked away, leaving Ethan staring after her in confusion. "Daddy, is she a princess?" Lily whispered. Ethan chuckled, tucking the card into his pocket. "No, Butterfly, just someone very important who probably made a mistake." But the next day, after dropping Lily at school, Ethan found himself calling the number. To his surprise, he was immediately connected to Grace herself. "Mr. O'Connor, I was hoping you'd call," she said, as if she'd been expecting him. "Can you come to our offices today? We can discuss the opportunity in detail." 4 hours later, Ethan found himself sitting in a sleek conference room at the newly established Vargas Innovations regional headquarters, trying not to look as out of place as he felt. He'd worn his best shirt, the only button-down he owned without any tears or stains, and had even polished his worn work boots. Grace entered the room, and immediately the atmosphere changed. She carried an aura of confident authority that Ethan found both intimidating and oddly attractive. "Thank you for coming," she said, sitting across from him. "I've prepared a proposal for you." She slid a folder across the table. Ethan opened it and his eyes widened at the figure on the contract. "This can't be right," he said, looking up at her. "This is more than I make in 3 months." "It's the standard rate for our vehicle fleet manager," Grace replied calmly. "You'd be responsible for maintaining our company vehicles, scheduling professional services when needed, and coordinating with our drivers. It's a full-time position with benefits." Ethan stared at her. "Why me?" "You don't know anything about me." Grace leaned forward. "I know you care about details. I know you take pride in your work, even when it's just cleaning your own truck. And I know you're a devoted father who works 2 jobs to provide for his daughter. Those qualities are rare and valuable, Mr. O'Connor." "Ethan," he corrected automatically. "Just call me Ethan." "Ethan," she repeated, and he liked the way his name sounded in her voice. "Do you want the job?" Everything in him screamed that this was too good to be true, but when he thought about what this could mean for Lily, no more evening shifts away from her, a stable income, maybe even moving to a better apartment, he found himself nodding. "Yes," he said firmly. "I want the job." Grace smiled, and Ethan felt something stir inside him that he hadn't felt in a very long time. "Excellent. You start Monday." As Ethan drove to pick up Lily from school that afternoon, he still couldn't believe his luck, but a nagging voice reminded him that nothing came without strings attached. What did Grace Vargas really want from him? The weekend passed in a blur as Ethan gave notice at both his jobs, explained the change to Lily, and tried to prepare for his new position. By Monday morning, he was a bundle of nerves as he dropped Lily off at school. "You'll be amazing, Daddy," Lily assured him, wrapping her little arms around his neck. "The princess lady thinks so too," Ethan laughed, kissing her forehead. "Thanks, Butterfly. I'll pick you up from after-school care at 5, okay? That's earlier than usual." Lily's face lit up. "That's right. No more evening shifts." The joy in his daughter's eyes made any uncertainty worth it. Arriving at Vargas Innovations, Ethan was shown to a modest office near the company garage. His job, it turned out, was legitimate. 20 company vehicles needed regular maintenance, driver coordination, and scheduling. He spent the day learning the systems, meeting his team of 3 mechanics and setting up a maintenance schedule. He didn't see Grace until late afternoon when she appeared at his office door. "How's the first day going?" she asked. Ethan stood up quickly. "Good, really good, actually. You have a great team here." "They say the same about you," Grace replied. "Apparently, you've already reorganized the maintenance scheduling system." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "The old one had some inefficiencies. I hope that's okay." "It's why I hired you," Grace said with a smile. "Would you join me for coffee? I'd like to hear your first impressions." They ended up in the company cafe, where Grace listened attentively as Ethan outlined his plans for the vehicle fleet. Her genuine interest in his ideas gave him the confidence to speak freely, and before he knew it, they'd been talking for an hour. "I should let you get back to work," Grace said finally, checking her watch. "And I have a meeting, but this was helpful, Ethan. Thank you." "Thank you," Ethan replied sincerely. "For the opportunity, it means more than you know." Grace's expression softened. Everyone deserves a chance to show what they're capable of. As she walked away, Ethan couldn't help but watch her go, wondering what had made a billionaire CEO take a chance on someone like him. Over the next few weeks, Ethan settled into his role, exceeding even his own expectations. He implemented cost-saving maintenance procedures, hired 2 more mechanics to handle the growing fleet, and even convinced Grace to invest in hybrid vehicles for their next purchase, a move that would save the company money in the long run. Lily thrived with the new schedule too. With predictable hours and weekends free, Ethan could finally be present for school events and help with homework. They moved to a better apartment closer to her school, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt like he was truly providing for his daughter. He saw Grace regularly, more regularly than seemed normal for a CEO to interact with a fleet manager. She often sought his input on various aspects of the company's operations, not just vehicles. They developed a comfortable rapport that sometimes, when Ethan let himself think about it, felt like more than professional courtesy. One Friday afternoon, Ethan was under the hood of Grace's Tesla, which had been making an unusual noise, when he heard her voice. "Is the patient going to live, doctor?" Ethan looked up, wiping his hands on a rag. "Just a loose connection. She'll be good as new in about 5 minutes." Grace leaned against the garage wall, watching him work. She'd learned to recognize when she was using work as an excuse to see him, and this was definitely one of those times. "You could have had one of the mechanics look at it," she pointed out. Ethan shrugged. "I like to handle the important vehicles personally." "Am I important, Ethan?" The question slipped out before Grace could stop it. Ethan's hands paused. He looked up at her, his expression unreadable. "Of course you are. You're the CEO." "That's not what I meant." Their eyes locked, and the tension between them crackled with unspoken feelings. Ethan broke the contact first, returning to the engine. "All set," he announced, closing the hood. "Good as new." "Thank you," Grace said, suddenly unsure of herself, a rare feeling for someone who commanded boardrooms with confidence. "Ethan, would you and Lily like to join me for dinner tomorrow?" "At my house?" Ethan looked surprised. "Your house?" "Yes, nothing formal. I thought it might be nice to get to know each other better outside of work." Ethan hesitated only briefly. "We'd like that." The next evening, Ethan and Lily stood at the gates of a lakeside estate that made both their jaws drop. "Daddy, she really is a princess," Lily whispered as the security guard waved them through. "She's just very successful at her job, Butterfly," Ethan explained, though he too was intimidated by the sprawling mansion. Grace met them at the door herself, dressed casually in jeans and a simple blouse, a stark contrast to her usual corporate attire. She looked younger, softer somehow. "Welcome to my home," she said, bending down to Lily's level. "I'm so glad you could come." "Your house is like a castle," Lily informed her seriously. Grace laughed. "It's much too big for just one person. Come on, I'll show you around." To Ethan's surprise, the evening was relaxed and enjoyable. Grace had prepared a simple meal herself, admitting with a laugh that cooking wasn't her strong suit, and had set up a movie room with children's films for Lily. After dinner, while Lily watched a movie with headphones on, Grace led Ethan to the terrace overlooking the lake. "This view is incredible," Ethan said, taking in the moonlight reflecting off the water. "It's why I bought the place," Grace admitted, "but I rarely get to enjoy it. I'm usually working. That's the curse of success, I guess." Grace turned to him. "Is it success if you have no one to share it with?" The vulnerability in her voice caught him off guard. "I wouldn't know. I haven't had much success or much sharing lately." "But you have Lily," Grace pointed out. "That counts for everything." "It does," Ethan agreed. "She's the reason I keep going." "You're a wonderful father," Grace said softly. "I try to be." Ethan leaned against the railing. "Her mother left when Lily was 2. Said she wasn't cut out for family life. It's been just the 2 of us ever since." "I'm sorry," Ethan shrugged. "Don't be, we're better off. What about you? How does someone as young as you become a billionaire CEO?" Grace smiled wryly. "I'm 34, not exactly a wonderkind. But I started the company right out of college with an inheritance from my grandfather. He believed in me when no one else did. I built it from their renewable energy solutions, then expanded into tech and sustainable development." "That's impressive." It's lonely, Grace admitted. Success isolates you. Everyone wants something from you or they're intimidated by you. Real connections become rare. Is that why you hired me? Ethan asked directly. For a real connection, Grace met his gaze. I hired you because you were clearly capable and undervalued. But yes, I was drawn to your authenticity. It's refreshing. I'm just a regular guy trying to get by, Grace. There's nothing just about you, Ethan O'Connor. The air between them seemed to thicken. Ethan became acutely aware of how close they were standing, how the moonlight highlighted the curves of her face. Daddy, the movie's over. Lily's voice broke the moment as she bounded onto the terrace. Did you enjoy it, sweetheart? Grace asked, stepping back from Ethan. It was awesome. Can we come again? Grace looked at Ethan questioningly. We shouldn't impose, he said diplomatically. It's not an imposition, Grace assured him. I've enjoyed having you both here more than you know. As they said their goodbyes at the door, Grace impulsively hugged Lily, who returned the embrace enthusiastically. When she straightened, Ethan was watching her with an expression that made her heart race. Thank you for tonight, he said softly. Thank you for coming. She hesitated, then added, maybe next weekend we could do something all together. There's a fair coming to town. Lily would love that. Ethan's smile warmed her, and so would I. Over the following months, their lives began to intertwine in ways neither had expected. Weekends became sacred time for the three of them to explore the area, have picnics, or simply relax at Grace's home. Lily blossomed under Grace's additional attention, and Grace found herself looking forward to their time together more than any business success. At work, they maintained professional boundaries, though everyone noticed the special rapport between the CEO and the fleet manager. Rumors circulated, but neither Ethan nor Grace paid them any mind. The truth was, they were falling for each other slowly, cautiously, but inevitably. Grace had never met anyone like Ethan, a man of integrity who valued the simple things and treated her like a person, not a bank account. And Ethan found in Grace a woman whose strength was matched only by her compassion, whose success hadn't corrupted her heart. Their first kiss happened on a rainy Sunday afternoon at Grace's house, while Lily napped after an exhausting morning of baking cookies. They'd been talking quietly by the fireplace, and when Grace shivered slightly, Ethan had naturally put his arm around her. Is this okay? He'd asked softly. Grace had answered by leaning closer, turning her face to his. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, both of them aware of all the reasons they shouldn't do this. But as it deepened, those reasons seemed to fade away. I've wanted to do that for a long time, Ethan confessed when they finally pulled apart. Why didn't you? Grace asked, her fingers lightly tracing the line of his jaw. You're my boss. You're wildly out of my league. Take your pick. Don't say that, Grace frowned. I hate when you diminish yourself. It's reality, Grace. You're one of the richest women in the country. I'm a single dad who was scrubbing his truck in a parking lot when you found me. That's exactly why I care about you, Grace insisted. Your worth has nothing to do with your bank account. It's who you are, Ethan. He studied her face, wanting desperately to believe her. What do you want from this, from us? Everything, Grace answered honestly, if you'll let me. As summer turned to fall, their relationship deepened. Grace became a fixture in Lily's life, attending her school plays, helping with science projects, and often joining them for bedtime stories. Ethan worried sometimes that it was too much too fast, but seeing the way Grace genuinely cared for his daughter, he couldn't bring himself to slow things down. At work, they remained discreet, but didn't hide their relationship. Grace had been clear with her board about the situation, facing down concerns about favoritism with her characteristic directness. Ethan continued to excel in his role, eventually being promoted to operations manager for the entire facility. But not everything was smooth sailing. 3 months into their relationship, the financial disparities between them created their first serious conflict. It started when Lily's school announced a week-long educational trip that cost more than Ethan could afford, even with his improved salary. Grace immediately offered to pay, seeing it as a simple solution. Absolutely not, Ethan said firmly when they discussed it at his apartment after Lily was asleep. Why not? It's nothing to me and it would mean so much to Lily. That's exactly the problem, Ethan explained, trying to keep his frustration in check. It's nothing to you, but it's everything to my pride. I'm her father, I provide for her. Your pride isn't what's important here, Grace argued. Lily's opportunity is. Don't tell me what's important for my daughter, Ethan snapped, immediately regretting his tone. Grace stepped back, hurt flashing across her face. I care about Lily too, Ethan. I thought you knew that. I do know that, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. But you have to understand I've spent years making sure Lily knows that even though we don't have much, I can take care of her. I can't just let you sweep in and solve our problems with your checkbook. So what's the alternative? Lily misses out because of your pride. No, Ethan said firmly. I'll figure it out, I always do. Grace was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Okay, I respect that. But Ethan, if we're going to have a future together, we need to find a balance. I don't want to step on your toes, but my resources are part of who I am. I want to share my life with you and Lily, all of it. Her words, the casual mention of a future together, hung in the air between them. It was the first time either had explicitly acknowledged where their relationship might be heading. I want a future with you two, Ethan admitted softly. I just need to find my footing in your world without losing myself. Grace moved closer, taking his hands in hers. I fell for you because of who you are, Ethan. I never want you to change that. The school trip issue was resolved when Ethan took on a weekend consulting job helping a local business optimize their delivery routes, a skill he'd developed at Vargas Innovations. He earned enough to cover Lily's trip, and the pride in his eyes when he told Grace was worth more than any easy solution. That winter, nearly a year after their first meeting in the parking lot, Grace invited Ethan and Lily to spend Christmas at her lake house. The three of them decorated the massive tree together, baked cookies, and filled the usually quiet house with laughter on Christmas Eve after Lily had finally fallen asleep, vibrating with excitement about Santa's imminent arrival. Ethan and Grace sat by the fire, enjoying the peaceful moment. I have something for you, Grace said, reaching behind a cushion and pulling out a small gift box. We agreed to wait until morning, Ethan protested mildly. This one's just for you, Grace explained, not something I want to give you in front of Lily. Intrigued, Ethan opened the box to find a key. What's this for? He asked, though he had a suspicion. This house, Grace said simply. I want you and Lily to move in. I want us to be a family, Ethan. Ethan stared at the key in his palm. Grace, before you say anything, she interrupted, I know it's a big step. I know you value your independence, but the truth is I'm happiest when you're both here. This place is too big, too empty without you. You know what people will say, Ethan pointed out, that I'm after your money. That I hit the jackpot. Grace took his face in her hands. Do you care what people say? Ethan considered this. A year ago, perhaps he would have. But now, no, he said honestly. I care what you think. I care what Lily thinks. The rest is noise. Lily adores you, Grace said softly. And I love you, Ethan O'Connor. I have since I watched you clean that old truck with such care, since I saw how you prioritize your daughter above everything. I love the man who works hard and never takes shortcuts, who makes me laugh and challenges me to see beyond my privileged world. Ethan pulled her closer, his throat tight with emotion. I love you too. I think I've loved you since that first coffee in the company cafe when the Billionaire CEO actually listened to what a fleet manager had to say. He kissed her deeply, then pulled back with a small smile. But I have a counteroffer. I'm listening, Grace raised an eyebrow. We'll move in on one condition, I pay my share. Grace started to protest, but Ethan continued, not an equal share, obviously, but a fair percentage of my income toward household expenses. I need that, Grace. Grace considered, then nodded. Deal, anything else? Ethan took a deep breath. Yes, marry me, Grace's eyes widened. What, marry me? Ethan repeated, more confident now. Not because of the house or the money or any of that. Marry me because I love you, and because you love Lily, and because I want to build a life with you that's about so much more than what either of us owns. Tears filled Grace's eyes. Are you sure? You don't need time to think about it, Ethan laughed. Grace, I've been thinking about it for months. I've been saving for a ring, but yes, Grace interrupted, throwing her arms around his neck. Yes, I'll marry you. I don't need a ring. "You're getting one anyway," Ethan promised, holding her tight. "Just not tonight." They were married the following spring in a small ceremony by the lake, with Lily as the flower girl. The company's employees, who had watched their relationship blossom, celebrated alongside them. Even Grace's initially skeptical board members had come to appreciate Ethan's positive influence, both on their CEO and on the company's operations. Ethan never did quit his job. He eventually became COO of Vargas Innovations, his practical experience and attention to detail proving invaluable as the company expanded. Grace remained CEO, but found a better work-life balance with Ethan's encouragement. They established the O'Connor-Vargas Foundation, focusing on providing career opportunities and education for single parents, inspired by Ethan's journey. 2 years after their wedding, they welcomed twins, a boy and a girl, who joined big sister Lily to complete their family. The lake house, once too large and empty for Grace alone, became filled with the chaos and joy of family life. Sometimes, on quiet evenings when the children were asleep, Ethan and Grace would sit on the terrace overlooking the lake, marveling at the journey that had brought them together. "Do you ever think about that day in the parking lot?" Grace would ask. "How different our lives might be if I hadn't stopped to talk to you." "Every day," Ethan would reply, pulling her close. "But I think we would have found each other somehow. Some things are just meant to be." And as they watched the moonlight dancing on the water, both knew it was true. From a struggling dad cleaning his truck to the partner of one of the most powerful women in business, Ethan's journey hadn't been about gaining wealth or status. It had been about finding love, building a family, and discovering that true worth had nothing to do with money. For Grace, the billionaire CEO who had everything but connection, finding Ethan and Lily had filled a void she hadn't fully recognized. Her success meant nothing without them to share it with. Together, they had built something more valuable than any fortune, a family founded on love, respect, and the understanding that the most precious things in life couldn't be bought or sold. And it had all started with a man cleaning his truck, and a woman who saw beyond the surface to the heart of what truly mattered.